All right, today we're going to get into something that's a huge part of being human, prejudice. We're going to dive into a text that really forces us to look at the barriers we put up between each other and asks, is there a better way?
And to kick things off, the source material starts us with this really powerful story, an experiment, actually, that pretty much sets the stage for this whole conversation.
So picture this. It's the 1960s, right after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., and this teacher, she wanted to show her students what discrimination actually feels like, to get beyond the words in a book and make it real.
So here's what she did. On day one, she tells the blue-eyed kids they're superior, gives them extra privileges, the whole deal. And what's just wild is how fast everything changed. They immediately started acting like little tyrants. But then, on day two, she flips the script. Now the brown-eyed kids are the superior ones. And guess what? The exact same thing happens, just in reverse. The text really drives home how quickly we can slip into these roles when someone gives us permission.
And look, this wasn't just some classroom game. The source makes it really clear that this exercise had a huge impact on these kids. It forced them to see firsthand just how awful and, frankly, how random prejudice really is. Okay, so how do we connect this little classroom experiment to the big, wide world? Well, the source uses it as a springboard to talk about all the barriers we build around us every single day.
And here's the thing. The source says this isn't just about a few bad apples. It's presented as something much bigger than that, kind of baked into our human nature, something we pick up from our families, from our whole society. You can even see the seeds of it on the playground, right? With the cliques that decide who's cool and who's not.
So that leads to a pretty huge question, right? If our natural instinct is to form these little groups and push others away, what are we supposed to do about it? Is there even another way?
But the source doesn't just leave us there with the problem. Oh no, it actually proposes a solution. And it's a solution that comes from a very specific spiritual worldview, one that wants to completely tear down those barriers we naturally build.
The whole idea, the feeling it's going for, is captured right here in this quote. The goal isn't just putting up with each other. It's about finding real joy, a real pleasantness in being united.
Okay, but what does that mean, unity? Well, the source introduces this concept called the body of Christ. And the main idea here is that through a shared faith, all those labels we stick on each other, race, culture, how much money you have, gender, they're supposed to lose their power to divide us.
And this right here, this is the key. It's about a total shift in how you see people. The source brings up a verse from 1 Samuel, and it contrasts how we humans tend to judge by what's on the outside with a divine view that looks past all that, straight to the heart.
And this quote right here, this is basically the cornerstone of the whole argument. I mean, think about it. It takes the biggest social, ethnic, and economic divides of its day and just erases them. It says, in this new community, those old labels just don't apply anymore. It's one thing to talk about these big ideas, but it's another to see them in action. And that's where the text points us next to the example of Jesus himself. So first, you have to understand what society was like back then. It was full of these really strict social rules. There were all these groups of people you were just supposed to ignore or even avoid completely. We're talking women, kids, tax collectors, people with diseases, the outcasts. And then you get the total opposite. The text makes this point really powerfully. Jesus just broke all those rules. It says he went out of his way to welcome the very people everyone else was pushing away.
And just in case you thought this was a minor suggestion, the source points to this incredibly intense statement from the Gospel of Luke. The message is pretty blunt. Making someone else feel excluded or causing them to stumble is a massive deal.
Okay, so this is where it all gets personal. The source shifts from these big historical ideas and brings it right back to us, right here, right now.
And it actually gives us a little exercise to try, a way to uncover those biases we might not even know we have. It's a simple word association thing, designed to get past our polite, thought-out answers and see what our gut reaction is.
All right, let's give it a shot. Look at this phrase, elderly people are. What's the very first thing that pops into your head? Seriously, don't think, just react. Okay, ready? Here's another one. Immigrants always, what's the first word? Now, according to the source, that first thought you had, that's probably not what you truly believe, but it might be what you've picked up from the world around you without even realizing it. And the point here isn't to make you feel guilty, not at all. The source says it's just about being aware, seeing what our automatic thoughts are, so we can then choose to think differently. The idea is to challenge those first reactions and ask for help to see people in a new light.
So after all that, we're left with this one last question. A challenge, really. It's asking every single one of us, what barrier, what prejudice, what assumption in your own life will you decide to look beyond?